Shalom Akim, Kal Halayim La, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahushua Bahashem Rakal Kodash, and double honors to Great and Apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Thadiyah Shah for the strength in order to make this video. And Yaratazah that you find this video edifying and exhorting. Edifying meaning to build up, exhort meaning to encourage. So Yaratazah will be a short one because, again, as I typically say in these short videos, relatively, that it portrays the point simply. So I'm gonna play this, then as you can tell from the title alone, you know what this video is gonna be about.
All right, well, this may tick off some farmers and offend some of you, so let's just get it over with. In my last video, we talked about how the nutritional quality of your food has declined drastically since bell-bottoms were popular the first time. Everyone wants to blame farmers for it, so we'll start with them first. Whether it's synthetic fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides, fungicides, use of heavy tillage, any modern farming practice, you name it, all these are depleting the soil of nutrients. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that food is grown in soil, and if your soil is depleted of nutrients, then so is your food. So farmers, I'm not telling you what to do or how to do it. I barely know what I'm doing. But what I do know is that if you spend time improving your greatest asset, which is the soil, naturally you will end up with a better product. And now comes the real problem, because if and when farmers do grow a better product, the vast majority of consumers aren't willing to pay for it. If you're really upset about the loss of nutrients in your food, then you need to go out and support the producers that are trying to grow a better product. Otherwise, let's just stop blaming each other and take some accountability for our own part to play in the problem. And I'll start. I need to eat a lot less Raising Cane's. All right, well, this may...
Yeah, so that's the point, man. Because I was reading Exodus 23 recently and came across the verses of, keeping a land Sabbath, of which we, as Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians are commanded to do. So, of course, in this day and age, we're under our captors, even though it may not seem like it, because of the illusion of freedom that we're under, considering the system and everything. We're not allowed to, or we can't really keep the land Sabbath. First of all, we got to get right with Yahweh Shem Yahushua before we can even consider about keeping any laws. And second of all, we got to get the bodies compatible with pleasing Yahweh Shem Yahushua. That's referring to 1 Corinthians 15, verse 40 onwards, really. Going into the celestial body and the terrestrial body. So anyways, but the point is, these land Sabbaths are essential. You got to let the land rest. Even the human body needs rest, man. That's why, in the law, it also mentions about, 6 days thou shalt work. And then on the 7th day, you're going to have to rest. So then we get this precept based on the land Sabbath. All right, this is Exodus 23 and verse 10. And 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and shalt gather in the fruits thereof. It says, but the 7th year thou shalt let it rest and lie still, that the poor of thy people may eat, and what they leave the beasts of the field shall eat. In like manner thou shalt deal with thy vineyard and with thy olive yard. Yeah, so that's it. It says 6 years thou shalt work. 6 years, well, yeah, because you are tilling the land, you are working to get that harvest. So let me read it in the NLT as well for more clarity. On the right side, so Exodus 23, starting from verse 10. Plant and harvest your crops for 6 years, but let the land be renewed and lie uncultivated during the 7th year. Then let the poor among you harvest whatever grows on its own. You see, that's the thing as well, because really all this homeless folk, they're supposed to be able to get some food, man, somehow, some way. Back in the day when Israel had their systems in order under the rule of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, there were systems so that even the poor could still get food. This is one of them. So it says, then let the poor among you harvest whatever grows on its own. Leave the rest for the wild animals to eat. The same applies to your vineyards and olive groves. So of course, the lands in your possessions of which you use to harvest crops. 6 years, you do your work there on the land to get your crops. And then on the 7th year, you're supposed to let the land, rest so that it can actually gain its nutrients again. That's why most of the soil, as we saw in that short as well, are it looks depleted. If the soil is dry and kind of feeling like sand, of course there's something wrong with the soil. It's supposed to be moist. That's one signal of a healthy looking soil. Of course, ensuring that it has minerals, which those minerals typically come from the dead remnants of other things that leaf. I forgot what they call it. Well, yeah. There's manure, but there was some, I think I'm gonna just call it this: leaf remnants. For example, in the forest as well. Which can be used as nutrients. It's a whole ecosystem. Really, I ain't gonna get into the details. With the insects and their droplings as well, helping to nourish the soil, man. But Esau, again, as the guy mentioned, man, insecticides, pesticides, and all these chemicals used on the soil will just deplete all the nutrients. And of course, if you deplete the roots of the system, whatever is produced from that root will not be of quality. That's it. The same way for us as well, our root is Yahweh Shai. Hence why what we produce is from a sound ground, from a nourishing ground, which is through Yahweh Shai, because he said he's divine and we are the branches. So we get our nutrients, our nutrients can be likened as Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, which guides our lips as we make these videos, as we go out there for camp, as we study, and as we also grow in this truth. That's the nutrients that aids us, Ruach HaKodesh, through Yahweh Shai, that aids us to grow, to be able to produce quality works for, again, to bid to the marriage. So anyways, going back to focusing on the topic, this is it, man. You gotta let the land rest, but Esau doesn't do that. That's why I named the video, he never gave it a rest, so the food is weakened. Something along those lines. But yeah, so the food is weakened. Alright, let me get this precept here, because there's a reason why we're eating defiled bread right now. Even what you think is healthy, we're eating in faith. That's why it's good to pray before you have your food, man. You don't know what wonders Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is putting in that food as you eat it upon your prayer. So again, the just shall live by faith. Anyways, Exodus 4:13. It says here, and the Lord Yahweh said, even thus shall the children of Israel, you Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, as well as speckled bird out there, of whom may look like heathens but are actually Israelites, eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, which are the actual heathens, whither I will drive them. So of course, amongst these other nations, Jake living amongst Moab, they eat detestability in their ignorance. That's one thing you got always put there, in their ignorance. Because of course, even if they're made aware, they still want to be willingly ignorant. That's the thing. So again, it says, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread. Defiled bread. So the food that you eat, it doesn't just specifically mean bread, which even if you take it literally, the bread is it's not as nourishing. You gotta do your research on the types of breads or which would be more nourishing to the body. But nevertheless, if it be given to you by Yahweh Hashem Yahushai and your power to purchase these things, then do it. Use the word. Don't be as those who are abusers, which really just goes into being attached to it. So use it, because you gotta be healthy for this ministry anyways. So yeah, it says Israel, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, man. So among these heathens, you're going to be eating those depleted foods. Again, that's why it's essential to pray. So that Yahweh Hashem Yahushai will give you the nourishment. Even with faith, that would happen as well. You pray upon it, and through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Because the thing is, you don't know what miracles be happening, that your eyes don't see. Again, we operate in faith, so we already know we're being looked after through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. So yeah, that's just a tip there, man. Alright, so check this. Alright, let's get Romans 8:19. Romans 8 and 19, starting from verse 19, says, "For the earnest expectation of the creature." So let me highlight this as well. Right. Romans 8 and starting from verse 19 says, "For the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of the Most High. For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who hath subjected the same in hope, because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of the Most High. For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now." Even the earth itself, man, is waiting for the Israelites, us, to rule. It's waiting for Yahushua's kingdom to be established, physically, which is in due time anyways, man, because considering what's going on right now of all the world events and how things are warming up, I say warming up, but the fire's increasing. So again, that fire to in terms of preparation, or read the fall of Esau's kingdom, really the fall of Babylon. So that's the point, man. The whole creation groaneth. Therefore we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. Even the darn food, you gotta pray over it, man, for sure. More so this time before, than back in the day. But nevertheless, it's always good to pray over your food, man, for several reasons. So that Yahweh Shem Yahshai make sure it's nourishing to your body, and of course, not just nourishing, but also whatever nonsense is included, you'll be cleared off. And we know that in faith. Proverbs 29:2. "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn." And they will realize this. When Yahushua comes back, they're going to know that the system of which he's established is far better than what Esau could ever achieve, especially considering Esau's nature, man. That's it. As I named the video, he never gave it a rest. They never gave the land a rest. So the food is weakened. So I'm going to play it again, a portion of it, and I'm going to just close it out.
All right, well, this may tick off some farmers and offend some of you, so let's just get it over with. In my last video, we talked about how the nutritional quality of your food has declined drastically since bell-bottoms were popular.
Speaking of apples as well, certain apples that I'll be getting over here, in the UK. So there are certain apples, you bite into them, you don't even see seeds anymore, man. Certain of them you do, but you don't see the seeds anymore. And just to open your mind, even the seeds themselves are also modified, man. So again, always pray over your food. Always pray over your food.
Everyone wants to blame farmers for it, so we'll start with them first. Whether it's synthetic fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides, fungicides, use of heavy tillage, any modern farming practice, you name it, all these are depleting the soil of nutrients. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out.
And it makes sense. Artificial stuff with natural stuff, it don't rhyme.
That food is grown in soil, and if your soil is depleted of nutrients, then so is your food. So farmers, I'm not telling you what to do or how to do it. I barely know what I'm doing. But what I do know is that if you spend time improving your greatest asset, which is the soil, naturally you will end up with a better product. And now comes the real problem, because if and when farmers do grow a better product, the vast majority of consumers aren't willing to pay for it. If you're really upset about the loss of nutrients in your food, then you need to go out and support the producers that are trying to grow.
So yeah, man, if you got access to local markets, those are the ones to go. Of course, use your discernment. I remember getting some watermelon, and then the flipping use a sticker to cover a hole. That watermelon looked good on the outside, but on the inside I was like, nah, this thing is done. So again, use a discernment. Of course, there are quality farm retailers out there. You just gotta know where to look for it. And through Sabra Bashim Yashai, again, use wisdom, and then, get what you need to get, and nourish your body properly. But yeah, Shalom, Yabashim Yashai, Barakatha.